Greetings, citizens. This is Lieutenant Commander Mr. Everything coming at you with an important announcement from the UEE Navy. The 1st Naval Aerospace Squadron, the Lions, is recruiting. Be a part of something great. Join now. We are looking for new and veteran players. The 1st Naval Aerospace Squadron is a UEE Navy carrier-based squadron. If you're looking for a disciplined, well-trained unit, join now. Not only do we want combat professions, but we need first-person marine experts, merchants, miners, salvage. All professions are welcome in the 1st Naval Aerospace Squadron. Our mission is to protect the UEE and its citizens. Join the 1st Naval Aerospace Squadron. Expected missions would be anti-piracy, anti-smuggling, fleet protection, search and rescue, convoy escort, bounty hunting, exploration, mining, salvage, asset protection, cargo hauls, to name a few. Join now and see the galaxy. We have an organization page on the RSI website, as well as the forums in Spectrum, and we have our very own Discord. Role-playing is encouraged, but not mandatory. The galaxy awaits. Join now. Whether you're casual or competitive, we're looking for committed players. We're based on a World War II U.S. Navy Air Squadron theme. Our focus are carrier-based craft, with our primary being the Sabre. But all ships are needed and wanted in the squadron. We would like to have a wide variety of ships to allow all kinds of gameplay. Visit now your local Navy recruiter and join the 1st Naval Aerospace Squadron. The squadron is growing. Visit our recruiter at robertspaceindustriescom/orgs/1NAS to become a member of something great. Greetings, citizens. This is Lieutenant Commander Mr. Everything coming at you with an important announcement from the UEE Navy. Hello again, everybody. This is Mr. Everything coming at you with another Star Citizen live stream. Tonight, I'd like to start a discussion. I'm going to rewatch the Pillar Talk video, primarily because, I watched it one time. I thought everything was cool, blah, 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 blah. Then I watched a couple of other streamers watch it and kind of break it down in their opinion. And I don't agree with necessarily their opinions. And I've even overheard some people bashing this video because they're saying, is it a play on Pillow Talk? Because they've already got our money. So they've already, it's like, it's after they screwed us. No. Guys, no. Pillar Talk was actually first introduced about 8 months ago on an Around the Verse. Around the Verse had a segment called Pillar Talk, and so I don't know if that just caused, if they just subconsciously said, hey, let's call the show Pillar Talk, because they already had a show called Pillar Talk. But what that was if you remember last CitizenCon 2018, Chris Roberts got on the stage and he started talking about what it takes to get to beta, right? He said, we got to have these certain pillars finished before we can actually get to beta. Now, those pillars are arbitrary. It's basically he created those pillars in his own mind. He set this on the bulletin board, got the whiteboard out and said, this is one of our pillars. We have to have good AI. This is one of our pillars. We got to have mining. This is one of our pillars. We got to have good bounty hunting. This is another one of our pillars. And he created those pillars. And he's saying to his employees, when we get all of these pillars active and functional in the game, then we will be ready to launch or go to beta. And I'm talking about Star Citizen, and I'm not speaking about Squadron 42. They have their own unique pillars. So, because he's calling these pillars to be accomplished, they came up with a show called Pillar Talk, so that these developers, the senior developers, can talk to each other so that we can overhear them about the targetable pillars. Now, I'm sure that they say they're going to do this in a quarterly manner, and the patches come out in a quarterly manner, and they want to talk about the pillars that are being addressed in those patches. I thought that was a pretty good idea. I thought them getting out there and telling us what they feel and how they feel and like what their strategy is and what their goal is. That's cool. I'm glad to hear their thoughts on their direction, and not always just like what we're releasing today. No, I want to hear what you're thinking about releasing. I want to know that theory stuff. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to actually play the Pillar Top, and I'm going to pause it from time to time to discuss what I think I just heard. And I do want to say this, though. I want to put this caveat out there. I am an Evocati. I have played 3.6, but I haven't played very much. I've only been able to log in based on my work schedule. I only logged in a couple of times, so I haven't really touched 3.6 very much. So even though I'm Evocati, I can't. Whatever I say doesn't come from a position of knowledge. Let me just say that. It doesn't come from a position of I've already done it and now I can speak to it because I've done it. No. If that makes sense. So what I'm trying to say is there's no way for me to break NDA because I haven't even done it yet. This is all still from outside looking in. I got me some buttered toffee coffee mixed with some hot cocoa. Okay, sorry. All right, so let's boop.
We're done. It's a show about nothing. All right. Yeah, so gentlemen, welcome to the first Pillar Talk. So this is like...
It's not the first Pillar Talk. there was a Pillar. Google it. There's a Pillar Talk in Around the Verse about 8 months ago. Okay, sorry. Moving on.
quarterly show we've been talking a lot about
Quarterly show they've been talking about doing.
different types of video content. We have Inside Star Citizen. And so that show we kind of...
They've been struggling over the last few months trying to decide or trying to figure out what kind of content that they can create that the community would enjoy and sink their teeth into. I think Pillar Talk is, as I probably already said, I think it's a good option. I don't like the fact that it's only once every 3 months. But if this is just one show that's every 3 months, but they still continue on with the other shows, that's perfectly fine. Okay, moving on. Sorry, I'm going to keep interrupting, so just bear with me.
defined as like the what, if you will, Inside Star Citizen, where this is going to be where we talk about the why. It's meant to be with our pillar directors or folks leading the pillars with Chris to talk a little bit more about the why.
Talk about that, like when we say pillar directors, I know we
we throw a lot of terms around.
So pillar directors, and really the core part is the gameplay pillar directors.
Right.
So these are the people that have made games, done.
Okay, that implies. Okay, he said gameplay pillar directors. That implies that there are other pillar directors that are not gameplay pillar directors. So what would be a non-gameplay pillar director? Art. Right? Okay, we'll go with art. Art might be a pillar director. Concepts, maybe that's part of art. I don't know. That's also part of design, so I'm not sure about that. But then you got the back end. You got QA. You got music. Those aren't gameplay pillar directors. Okay, moving on.
I've worked in the business for a long time. I intimately trust to make really good decisions at a high quality level. Star Citizen and Squadron's so big and has so many aspects because, it's an FPS game, it's a flight sim, it's a space sim. I mean, basically, in every game, throw it together and put it in a sci-fi world. It's very easy to get lost in the minutiae and the just sheer scale of what we're trying to do here. But that's what pillar directors are, and that's why this is called Pillar Talk.
And so I guess to open this up in 3.6, since we're going to...
So Chris knows, he just basically said he knows that this game has a lot of moving parts. It's got ships, AI, ground, vehicles, planets, moons, bases. It's got orbiting planetary bodies, which I haven't ever seen anything orbit, but I've seen planets rotate, but I haven't seen them orbit. Aliens, racing, the list can go on. And he knows that there is so much going on that it would be very easy for someone to get caught up in the fact that there's way too much going on. So he's broken it down.
We're going to talk a lot about the upcoming release. What in 3.6 kind of is exciting to you? Is there anything that stands out? I know there's a lot.
No.
But what is something that stands out to you? Tony, what about you?
I think on the gameplay system side, obviously, the law system
The law system.
would be a huge win to get that out the door with 3.6.
Version 1.
It gives a pretty large foundation on which to build for the future and a means to serve as a counterweight for all of these undesirable player actions that in the past have been largely left unattended. It's been up to other players to deal with them.
Sure.
And now with 3.6, we're delivering the first iteration of something that we're going to continue to do extensive evolution and development on this feature for the next several quarters.
So the question will be then in 3.
Okay, so several quarters. And several does not mean 1. Several does not mean 2, because that's a couple. Several does not mean 3, because that's 4 or 5, because that's a few. if you look up definitions, several is a year plus. So what he's saying is, not this year, not next year, finally it'll be finished. Or close to finished. Just the law system.
6. What are the first things of the law system that people are going to get to experience?
Yeah.
One of the first things that they'll see is a greater breadth of laws. We've got 19 different laws on the books, everything from
19 different laws. What could they possibly be? Smuggling. Okay, well, first of all, you got murder, theft, smuggling, possession, bribery, not obeying a noble. Oh, wait. I'm sorry. Getting into the wrong. Using psionics. Okay, that's Traveler. Never mind. Let's move on.
from murder, possession of stolen goods, transportation of illicit products. Previous to this, you bought something, and the only reason it was technically yours was because we stowed it on your ship. But if another player blew your ship up and took the goods, or snuck on your ship, took them, did whatever, there was no repercussions. They could go sell it, get full price. Now with 3.6, when you buy something, unless you actually grant it to someone else, if someone else has possession of that, they're very limited in what they can do with it. You can't go to a normal law-abiding shop and unload all of this stolen cargo. You have to go to salvage yards, or you have to go to fences, and obviously...
So in 3.6, where would that be? Grimhex?
Yeah, we're still playing with the exact location. Right now, we're debating whether it's 1 or 2 in each planetary system. I like that.
Okay, so this is a topic that I heard previously. Chris says, so where would that be in Grimhex? And Tony comes back and says 1 or 2 in every planetary system. Now, technically, that means every planet and its orbiting bodies is a planetary system. I don't think that Tony meant that. I think my gut and my knowledge of my intimate knowledge of how this game works, I think he means 1 or 2 in every solar system. And he just called it a planetary system. So I think that maybe Grimhex, maybe Delamar. There'll be 2 places, right? And both of those would be in Hurston. No, they would be in Stanton, right? And so I don't think Hurston will have 1 or 2, and I don't think ArcCore will have 1 or 2, and I don't think Crusader will have 1 or 2. I think the solar system will have 1 or 2 places that you could go to unload your illegal, perform all your illegal activities. Like it is now, right? We got Grimhex and Delamar. Okay, moving on.
Idea of making them a little bit more rare, and part of that's because I want there to be fewer places where you can unload illicit merchandise. The prices will be a fraction of what you get for legitimate goods, and of course you...
Okay, so let's talk about a fraction of legitimate goods. He's right. Okay, first of all, Tony Zurovic, he's got a degree, I do believe, in economics, and I think he's been designing games, and he's also been studying. I think he used to run his own company that bought and traded commodities. Okay. He knows how the markets work in real life. And if you see me keep looking over there, it's because I'm staring at my stream just to making sure everything's running okay. Sorry. But Tony knows what he's talking about when it comes to the economics, the money exchanges, buying and selling goods. He knows. Now, having said that, I agree 100% with him. It should not be as profitable. Well, let me rephrase that, because it might be more profitable, but it shouldn't. When you buy something and then you carry it to another planet and you sell it, you're going to sell it for full price or higher because you buy low, sell high. And that's how you make money. So just using this as an example, if I could sell something on another planet for 10 credits and it costs me, let's say, 5 credits to buy it, I carry it to that next planet, I sell it for 10 credits. Boom, I just made 5 credits, right? Okay. Now, a thief, when they blow my ship up and take my cargo, and they take it to that other planet, people are going to say, okay, this is stolen goods. We might or might not be able to sell it. It's going to be more difficult to unload it. I'll give you 5 credits for it. So you're getting less money than I would, but you still made 5 credits. And I would have made 5 credits. You save by not having to buy it. But then again, you also have to engage in the act of stealing it or taking it. So that's how it balances. Since you didn't have to buy it, you're not going to make as much money for selling it. All right, moving on.
You also have to deal with the risk of any security agents that come across you during your travels. Every player is going to have to do the mental calculus.
So they have the choice. So they basically can lose their goods, pay the fine, or start to fight.
And then this whole, security apparatus comes in to where more security reinforcements, interceptors, et cetera, pull you've been dampened so that you can't basically jump out of the area, et cetera, et cetera. Prisons, which is where we want to go somewhere within the next couple of quarters.
Okay, prisons. Next couple of quarters. Next couple of quarters is before the end of the year. Christmas time. I like the idea of prisons because I don't know if you know this. I play a game called City of Heroes, and one of the more exciting missions was the prison breakout. There's you start off as a brand new character, first level or whatever, and you get to pick if you want to be a good guy or a bad guy. If you pick that you're a bad guy, the first thing you do is break out of prison, and that's pretty fun. I mean, I have to admit, it's pretty fun. It's not the normal kind of gameplay that I play, right? I'm always the good guy, and if I was to do something I shouldn't do and a bounty hunter grabs me and he throws me in prison, there's going to be a mission. There's going to be some way for me to break out, and I'm going to enjoy that. I think it's going to be fun to do. I might break the law just so that I could get arrested and thrown in prison. Just do it, at least just do it once, just to see how exciting it is. And definitely in alpha and beta, I'm going to be doing it a few times just to learn the new changes in mechanics and help defeat the bugs and Evocati and all that stuff. I'll be doing that. There's a lot of people out there that complain about, when I break a law and you arrest me and you throw me in prison, that's not right. Well, guess what? Breaking the law is not right. Don't be a snowflake. I hear all these people. I'm just going to call them people. I hear all these people that are streaming or they're just in the forums or Reddit or whatever, and they call people that are more solo players or more legal players. Let's call them legal players. They stay in their own lane. They might have a bunch of friends playing with them, but they're not, immediately attacking other players, or they're not doing a lot of PvP. They're exploring, or they're doing merchanting and stuff. And I hear people calling them Care Bears or snowflakes, or whatever you want to call us. I am one of them. I'm proudly going to say that I am a Care Bear. I am the guy that likes to explore a planet, check out the waterfalls and the cool rocks and the trees. That's me. I like to do that. Do I want to buy some cargo and carry it to another planet and just don't bother me? I'm going to do it. Yeah, that's me. But then on the flip side, my organization is all about if you're a merchant and you need help, you call us and we come join you and we'll do some PvP for you, right? But we're doing that as a protective service, and we're going to charge you for that. And we're that guy that he's talking about. It's going to, your reinforcements are coming in and helping you out. But what I find, okay, I'm sorry, I'm getting back to this. What I find is that the people that are calling me a Care Bear are the ones that are the whiners. They're the ones that say, I tried to engage you in PvP and you ran away. Boo-hoo. You know, I'm like, of course I ran away. You would have killed me because you're a good PvP player, right? And maybe I'm not. Maybe I'm in a merchant ship and you're in a like, I don't know, hammerhead or something. And I'm in like a little cargo ship and you come and like to blow me away, which you will, and I run away because I'm not, and he goes, you ran away, boo, you didn't let us blow you up. Who's the Care Bear? You're the whiner, not me. I'm not whining, I'm running. Okay, sorry, moving on.
Once we've arrested
Let's back up
a
so I don't.
player,
Yeah.
enforcements, interceptors, etc., pulls you've been dampened so that you can't basically jump out of the area, etc., etc. Prisons, which is where we want to go, somewhere within the next couple of quarters. Once we've arrested a player, then we put you on, within some sort of penal
respawn
colony.
in your nice home. We want to have consequences where people make judgment calls.
That's always a
Right. If there's no consequence in your actions, just like most things on the internet, you can do things and nobody is going to mess with you. So if there's no consequences, people will just do stuff that, like, they'll steal from people because there's no consequence. If there is consequence, like you can get arrested, then people will have to think about it. Like, is this something that I want to do? Do I really want to visit that prison for the 10th time? You know, do I want to be arrested? Do I want to have a record? Okay, and for those of you that don't know anything about this prison that he speaks of, I'm intimate with the lore of the universe. There is a planet that has a factory on it that mines or creates, I don't know, they call it mining, but I think they're creating antimatter. They say it's extremely dangerous. They have accidents all the time, and like radiation shielding and stuff like that is just not good enough. And orbiting above this planet is a penal satellite. It is a prison satellite. On the planet, now here's a little tidbit of information. On that planet, on the, you know, that crab that you have, that crab that hangs out in your fish tank, or if you have one of those crabs, it comes from that planet. That's where that planet comes from, and it's illegal to own one of them. So everybody that's got a fish tank with one of those crabs, you're breaking the law. But okay, either way, that comes from that penal planet, and they shuttle people down to the planet from the penal colony to work in this factory. There was a story about a prison break on that penal colony. I don't remember the name of that story, but there were like automated turrets inside and out. There were aliens in the prison. There were like naval psychologists, trying to, on the thing. And one of the prisoners used to be ex-Navy, and then he linked up with the psychologist, and then he knew one of the Tavarans on the station that was his friend, and they worked their way to the hangar, and they were going to get on a ship. I think it was a Cutlass. They were going to get on a ship, but it was still refueling, and there was guards. But it's a whole story that they've got back in the day, and they talk about that penal colony, and that's probably something like the mission that you would perform to escape this penal colony. So I look forward to it. Okay, moving on. Sorry.
Recurring theme with this game. It's such a big, extensive, open-ended sandbox. We're doing everything possible to give players the freedom to play the game however they want. But with all of this stuff, whether it's your equipment or your action towards other players and NPCs and stuff like that, there are always very definable consequences, repercussions to the actions you're going to take within the game.
Does this mean murdering someone doesn't carry the same penalty as parking my spaceship slightly incorrectly now?
Yeah, so we
Zero tolerance society. Violations are just like, well, it's like a parking ticket, right? You got to pay it. And then certain violations are like, yeah, people are coming after you.
Well, we've introduced the concept of a jurisdiction, which is really just an area of space that specifies what laws apply within that area and the associated penalties.
You have a parking violation on Hurston, you don't have bounty hunters chasing you all over.
That's exactly it. Law enforcement would only care about you in proximity to Hurston.
That'd be a great one. It'd be a vehicle. So
Yeah.
in.
Content-wise, we've got the Merlin.
And now we're talking
Not
about
a full
content.
rework, it's just bringing it up to modern standards. It's quite an old ship. We've got the Archimedes, which is a variant of it. So that's sort of the racing version. It's got a really nice white clear coat finish to it. We've got the Vanguard rework that went from, we'll just tidy up a little bit to
Pretty full rework.
pretty full. Like,
So the Vanguard owners will now actually have something
Yeah.
that looks like the concept.
I think about 10% of the interior is left from the original and about 20% of the exteriors.
How did we get to that rework? Like, what made us make that much change to it?
The Vanguard that was in game didn't really match up to the concept, which was much more beefy. This sort of like heavy long-range fighter.
Sure.
When
Let's talk about a heavy long-range fighter. A few years ago, 3-4 years ago, when the Vanguard actually was concepted and people were talking about it and people were buying it and it's not in the game, my squadron, the 1st Naval Aerospace Squadron, we considered the Vanguard as our name to fame, which it's not. The Sabre is, because we were Hornet pilots basically for a long time, and then the Vanguard was announced, and we were like, ooh, the Vanguard, what makes the Vanguard something super special? And they said it was the long range fighter. Okay, so knowing that Star Citizen is World War II in space, we theoried, we hypothesized what type of fighter would be a Vanguard. And we said it's probably the Lightning. Because we look at the picture of it, and let me see if I can back this up just a little bit. Come on, let me give me a good picture. Okay, I can't aim this very good. That's not a good picture. That's not really a good picture. Okay, that's a good picture. That looks like a Lightning. Now, a Lightning had the 2 engines. It had propellers, of course, but it had the booms 2 booms that went to the back, and then a tail, and then it had massive cannons in the center. 50 cals and cannons directly in the center. This reminded me of the Lightning, P-38 Lightning. So we said, why would we want P-38 Lightnings? Well, and what is their definition of long range? Okay, so to me and to us, to everyone in the squadron, long range meant you could leave your planet or your carrier, go through a jump point, perform a mission in the next system, and return. That made it a long-range fighter. A short-range fighter would be leaving your planet or your carrier and still performing actions within your own solar system and then returning. But who knows? In the way they're working fuel and quantum speeds and quantum travel times and stuff like that, we really don't know what a long-range fighter is. A long-range fighter might mean that it's got a bed so that you could go somewhere and sleep and then come back, so that that would support our next solar system over concept. It was big enough that it would have a big enough jump drive. It would have fuel, all that good stuff. Okay, moving on.
The long-range fighter
Sure.
went back to the concept to try to really nail it. We got all the cool little bits like a turret coming out, or like even like headlights popping up.
It's one of those things where you start pulling away bits, more and more comes with it, and before you know it, it's like, right,
Let's do it right.
do it wholesale.
That's great.
So
Yes or no answer is acceptable here, John. There are things not on the roadmap for vehicles and ships.
absolutely, yeah. As we
You can give as many details as you want to give us. That's safe that can be said in here.
as we did last year with the Valkyrie and Arrow, our first two ships that went from concept straight through the pipeline. The Valkyrie people didn't know about until they walked through the doors at CitizenCon and saw it plastered on the walls. Like,
What's that
what's that ship?
Yeah, that's
and then
right.
they saw it in the demo. Almost certainly would be more things like that.
Beautiful. That's
Yeah,
great.
Our long-term goal is to sort of move towards more straight to playable. The stuff that we can. I mean, obviously, we don't have, our vehicle team is decent size, but it's not enough to get everything done. So we're still going to have a balance of some stuff that's sort of a bit more longer term, and then some stuff that would be playable. But as we move forward and as we get the vehicle team staffed up a bit more, our plan is to shift to basically, nope, here's a new ship. You can play it in the game right now. So
That's cool.
There'll be a few surprises this year.
Yeah, good.
But that's not that big.
Is there anything else you're
That's
excited
cool.
by?
Yeah, I'd say the other thing which we don't call out as big of a feature, but the FOIP and VOP stuff for this release finally should get to the point where you can hail other ships.
Cool.
So when you're out in space and you see someone, you can talk to them, and you will have.
Okay. Now, I got mixed feelings about this. As a streamer, right, as me as on the camera right now, I could be VoIPing this. I could have my my Star Citizen character right here, and I could be talking. You wouldn't see my ugly mug. You'd be seeing my beautiful character. And then I could have a female character. I could use voice modulation, whatever. I could talk. I could move my head, my eyes, and my character would talk and move. For me, that's awesome. That's like great. Now, when you're in the game, when VoIP was working and you were in the game, you never really got close enough to someone to really pay attention to their face, their facial activities, or your friends, you don't really pay attention to any of that. So the VoIP is just an added bonus. It's not, I think it's great for me, but as a general player, I don't think it's that big of a deal. Okay, VoIP. Right? The voice. You've got to have voice over internet. You just have to have it because every game that I play out there, I can click a button and I can talk to my teammates. Everybody says, oh, we'll just use TeamSpeak, or we'll use Discord, or we'll use Mumble, or whatever, right? Ventrilo, going back in time. Yeah. So, yeah, people say that, but what's kind of cool about VoIP is I can be walking down in a corridor, a guy could be walking by, and I could say hello, and the guy's not in my Discord, he's not in my TeamSpeak, and he hears me. He hears my character say hello, and then he might stop and turn and say, hey, what's up, and then we could start a conversation without ever knowing each other's Discord. Without knowing each other's TeamSpeak. We don't have to provide that information to each other. We could just talk to each other. That, I think, is awesome. That is 100% awesome. So we're in a firefight, and there's a guy standing over there. He's not in our organization. He's not on my team. I could say, hey, you over there in the blue armor, take some cover because we're going to throw a grenade or whatever, right? And, hey, we're here to rescue you, or whatever. And they would be like, oh, cool, the 1st Naval Aerospace Squadron's here. Everything's good. We're safe, And, but that's awesome. Because the whole TeamSpeak Discord thing, sure, you can use TeamSpeak Discord all you want. That's fine. If you've got but that's only going to work for your own tight-knit group, your organization, your people, your peoples, right? But when you want to involve all these other people, that VoIP will just be, it's dynamically awesome. Like I'm flying through space and I see this ship flying by, and this is what they're talking about now. I see this ship flying by and I can click on it and say, hey man, are there any pirates in the area? And he can actually get back on the radio with me and say, yeah, man, I'm a pirate, or whatever, and also your face will show up on the little MFD. That's pretty cool. I mean, it's cool. That's all I can say. Moving on.
Have a separate channel to talk to your squad mates or teammates and stuff. So I think there was one patch where we had the VoIP and everyone had a great time, but then we turned it off because we were getting crashes that were kind of hard to track down. But this release, we should have most of that sorted out and taken care of. Yeah, so I'm hoping to see a lot more use because the feature's great as long as people are using it.
Right, and this functionality, there's loads of areas where we want to start expanding the use. Service beacons are one where it's an implied, contract between two players, and so it makes perfect sense that if you're requesting fuel or requesting combat assistance or whatever it may be from another player, that you want a dedicated communication channel so that you can tell him this.
I brought my volume down.
A lot of focus is how
so I'm not so loud.
Players work together better. How can they communicate better?
Yeah.
Because an online game playing with other people is like that's the fun.
Yeah, totally.
Boom. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, so I play these games, right? I play a bunch of online MMOs, a lot of them. I don't play a lot of them. I have played a lot of them. It's hard getting teams together. It's hard to get people to join you to go on quests or missions or whatever. It's super hard. Except for one game, City of Heroes. I love the way City of Heroes chat/team forming, it works. I always have someone to team with. I'm always meeting new people and we're getting into like 8-man teams and we're going on missions and every single time I play Lord of the Rings. I don't think I ever teamed with anybody. Played Conan. I only teamed with a couple of people on a raid. Was ESO, a couple of teams, but very rarely. We did a dungeon crawl thing. Very few teams, and they were all hard to form. People, because travel from one zone to another took forever. I assume, based on everything I've seen about Star Citizen, it's going to be a pain in the ass to form a team. Because people are going to be spread out all over the galaxy. They're not going to be in the same solar system with you. You're going to have people trying to get from point A to point B so that you guys can just raid a frickin' building. They'll never get there. It'll be hours later before they get there. I struggle with the whole working as a team thing in Star Citizen. We'll have to see how that works. Chris claims to know, and he brings it to the forefront. Hey, teaming with friends, that's what's important. Right? Okay. Let's see how that's going to happen. I'm starting to lose faith that teaming in Star Citizen is ever really going to happen. You're going to have an organization. You're going to have pre-planned activities and times and dates and places so that your teams can get there ahead of time so that when everybody logs in, you'll be ready to go. Otherwise, you're not just going to have any rando teams, not like City Heroes.
Right, not necessarily just doing it by yourself, or else you'd just be playing a single-player game, right? So the VoIP and VoIP is an example, but there's a lot of stuff like the multi-crew. You and your crew will have to operate a ship efficiently. So you're in combat and fires are breaking out, or you've got to replace fuses that are broken or fuel rods that have gone out. Your crewmates can run around and keep the ship going in a way that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. And that's like the advantage of a multi-crew ship versus a single-seater ship. We're working as hard as we can to get all the bits in place so all that sort of starts to work. It's not going to be quite there with 3.6, but there'll be still more stuff happening with that.
Yeah, totally. Do we have any, one of the things we talk about a lot per quarter is the polish or quality of life. We're trying to inject as much as we can in each quarterly release.
A really cool thing for me on the vehicle side is we've brought back the acceleration throttle. So we talked about this at CitizenCon.
Yeah.
It's essentially a throttle that controls your acceleration and thrust
That's cool.
directly.
I'm not exactly sure what he means by that. I remember when I could just throttle up and throttle down, and then now I have to set my speed limiter, and when I hit C, my throttle will go to that speed limiter. But I can bring that, once it's reached the speed limiter, I can go up and down with the wheel. So I'm not sure what he means by throttle, because that's kind of what I'm doing with the speed limiter.
Drives how maneuverable your ship is.
Because the variable thrust was my suggestion. Previous design was cruise control, like you set the speed you want to be at and then the ship tries to achieve it. In the real world, I don't get in my car and set cruise control to 20 and then 30 or 50 or 100. I use the accelerator and I'm adjusting the power that my engine's putting out, which is the equivalent of the force that my thruster's putting out. And also if you're flying an aircraft, you're generally,
Always at 100%.
Yeah, you're not 100%. So I wanted to have something that was more first order, so like you would be more affecting the thrust, which was the original design and setup, which is what we had at CitizenCon. But then in the playback in combat, which tends to happen, everyone just basically has it 100%.
If that's in 3.6, I'm going to have to get my hands on it and see what that's all about.
So go with this, but then there's other reasons.
Because I've got
to be able to have the
3.6.
adjustment.
It's just that I haven't really played around with it.
Both. Insert appropriate meme right now. Yeah. But because there's no reason why you can't set, okay, here's what my limit is and here's what my thrust is.
You can do some really nice little things with it. You can do soft landings.
Yeah.
Just reduce that thrust and you just gently fall out to go rather than slamming down.
Speaking of soft landings, the new
VTOL hover.
Okay, so they never really talked about this in 351 or 3.5 when they changed the flight model, but you can adjust your limiter. You can bring it down to very close to 0, and you will land nice and soft. And when you take off, you'll take off nice and slow. If you increase your limiter, you'll go up or down. Your up and down thrust is also adjusted, not just forward velocity.
I think we all want to make a game that reminds us of what we see in the movies, which is there's a little bit of a wobble and it moves around.
Do we? Do I really care about helicopters? I don't mind. Yes, I don't mind the little wobble, a little hover like that. Your hover shouldn't be perfect, but I look at drones today that we've got. They're steady as fuck. They're not. Even though it's windy, they're still like that. So I don't know. And then when I look at a Harrier or jump jet, do I see it go like this, or do I see it come in and sit? I don't see it. Yeah, so I don't know.
So below a certain speed, if your ship has VTOL, it switches into it. Yeah, you have this sort of hover mode, and it's pretty
Instead
cool.
of this weird-looking motion we have at the moment where you're strafing around, up, down, you're more accurately tilting, rolling.
Okay, now let's go into some I call bullshit. Okay, so I'm flying in with my ship. Let's call it a Sabre, right? I fly in, and I go into hover mode. Boop, hover, click, switch, boom, whatever. And now what happens to my ship to put it into hover mode? It's a computer thing in my AI of my ship that now, because I turned it on, it tells itself, okay, I'm going to perform differently. And I'm talking about the actual ship itself, not the game calling the ship. I'm talking about if the ship was real, its computer inside of it would be, okay, now we're switching to hover mode. This is what I need to do. What would it be doing? It would be applying the thrust out of my bottom thrusters. Right. And it would be, I don't know if you guys know anything about the Harrier. It has a gigantic engine, but the engine's thrust doesn't go out the back. It goes out the thruster, the adjustable thrusters, right? And when they put out the schematics on Popular Mechanics for the bomber, the Gladiator, they said it worked exactly the same way. You had an engine that put out thrust. It was diverted out of the engine into these adjustable thrusters, right? Okay. Perfect. So when you come in and you go into flight mode, the thrusters, pivot straight down or whatever, and they give you your thrust. But it's not a Harrier. It is a Sabre. And if you look at all these other ships, they all have this main thruster parked in the ass end of their ship. If I'm sitting there and I need to go forward, there is no reason why my ship needs to tilt forward to go forward. That is directly a symptom of having a single rotor. From like a helicopter. You've got a single rotor, you got your helicopter / ship. The rotor has this is a lesson in aerodynamics. There is a tilt plate on the there's a rod that goes up and there's a tilt plate if whatever, and the propeller spins, and based on how that tilt plate is, causes the propellers to go up or down when it's spinning, right? Okay, so you got this helicopter and the propellers go like this. When that happens, it starts to pull, you notice, it starts to pull the helicopter. I can't get both my hands this way. So just think of, okay, if that's the helicopter, let's do it that way. This is the front of the helicopter. This is the rotors. When the rotors start to go like this because of the tilt plate, the helicopter will start to go forward without even dipping. It'll just start to move forward. Now, the symptom of that is, or a reaction to that is, once you start moving, the nose of your helicopter will start to go down, and you'll see that it's now tilting, like it's basically becomes parallel, and it starts to go this way. That would be great if I had a single rotor on a tilt plate with some kind of helicopter on a loose gimbaled thing underneath, dangling from one little rotor. Okay, so that when I went, it would do that. Great, but these are starships that have Harrier-like thrusters on the bottom, keeping it aloft. And now, if Harrier, you tilt these jets back, it will do one of those numbers. It'll do the helicopter motion. But let's get back to this. Let's get back to the Sabre. The Sabre has a rear thruster. It has a gigantic rear thruster. Even if, and I'm just thinking mechanically as a aerodynamic engineer, even if I'm diverting thrust out the bottom thrusters from my main engine to keep me up, if I told my onboard ship's computer, I want to go forward, it's not going to tilt. It's going to apply a percentage, maybe small percentage, but some out the ass end thruster. It's going to divert some of the power from the bottom out the ass end. And I will just go straight forward. Now, conversely, when I go left and right, strafing, yes, I think I would do this going left and right, and I think I would do that going backwards. Yes, But going forward, I don't think I would tilt down and go. I think the thrust, and I would just go. We'll see.
That's great.
If you pitch forward, you'll move forwards.
That's great, yeah.
Slightly change the way shields work in 360. I won't get into the deep details of it.
Yeah.
Essentially, it allows the behaviors of the shields to come through. So at the moment, most ships come with 2 of the same shield.
Yeah.
But if you wanted to change them to have 2 ones with radically different behaviors, before 3.6, they just sort of summed their behaviors together. You just ended up with this weird hybrid that didn't have any character. Whereas now, if you put one that has really fast regeneration but low health,
Sure.
and the complete opposite, you will notice those behaviors from those 2 shield generators.
That's really cool.
Unfortunately, a few things aren't going to make 3.6,
Okay.
so the Defender's moving to 3.7. It's our first Banu ship, and we
That's-
tried to apply our current pipeline techniques to it, and it really didn't work.
We don't feel like it's getting there.
Yeah.
We're not pushing it out there because I think that's one of the defining.
That's fine.
It's quality. Like, that's what we want to do. So it's okay when we're putting stuff out that we're iterating on. There's definitely stuff that we're not happy with, but we need people to play and give us feedback. And you know, we're also like some things like we talked about making the UI good.
Yeah.
But you know, we still have to have UI in the game, so it's better to have some older
Version of it, yeah.
or slightly broken UI than no UI at all, which will be a problem. But in the case of something like a new ship, no, we don't want to put out the ship unless we're happy with it. Going forward, we don't really want to rush features or content.
All of us want to make it perfect before we release it, but at the same time, we want to keep giving the community a reason to come back and play the game on a regular basis. So you're trying to find these intermittent points where this is a complete game experience. We can ship that, then we iterate, et cetera.
Yeah. So on the Banu Defender, so you know, if we look at when we set the timeline, because I think we were going to release it in the last patch, right? I think we based that on our normal. So to your point of ship pipelines, like with all planning, right? You're like, here's all my ships, and here's how big they are, and we have our assessments, and we know our pipeline really well.
We've done enough ships now. We know like, it's a small ship from this manufacturer. It's going to take this many months.
And we got this kit to do all of our kit
And
bashing.
we didn't have any of that for the Defender. There was just so many challenges with it that almost every single step of the way we were hitting
Reinvented the
roadblocks on the art side.
It's the first Banu ship.
Yeah, it's the first
right?
Banu ship. The guys working on it have been very mindful that it's not the only Banu ship, so they can't just build it. It's a one-off. So the extra time we've had to spend here is going to benefit the merchant as well.
Right, and all Banu ships, cool.
Yep.
On an 890 jump.
890 jump. That's also not going to hit 3.6 on release day. It just needs more time. There's a lot.
It's going to be 361. The 890 jump, right? It's a big freaking ship. But it's not, there's no need for it to be as big as it is. It's a luxury ship. But is it really? It's a giant cargo ship that with luxury. I don't know. I don't really. It's so big. Now, if it was like the 600 size, I think it'd be just right for luxury. But the 890 jump is just giant.
A lot of stuff in there. It's like 199 meters. A lot of party places and places for doing all sorts of other business.
Other business.
Other business.
General 890 business.
890 business.
Whatever your 890 business would be.
But no, I think
Log
we
system
also,
guys.
I mean, we've been talking about a path that goes beyond structure, which is kind of what it is now. How do you have more richer, luxurious materials? What kind of props can you put in the paintings on the walls? Make it feel like a super yacht, which is what it is.
That's cool. Is there anything we want to add
A super yacht.
customization-wise? Like we kind of talked about a little bit about the future and about what we.
Okay, I get it now. That's like the Dr. No ship or the Goldfinger, you know. It's the super yacht, or it's the yacht from The Incredibles.
Plan
Incredibles
for it.
2,
And anybody, this is a discussion, gentlemen.
Well, a big one in 351, we snuck it into 351 rather than holding it for 36, where it was originally planned, was basically the persistence of your ship's loadout.
Yeah.
That came about specifically because one of our designers, Rob Reiniger, was making the point that there was just tons of chatter from the community that was one of the most often requested features. And so we basically slotted that to the top of the list. And then the next step of this just didn't roll out with the.
Now I'm going to say something about the vehicle loadout persistence or whatever they're calling it. That was a godsend. It was one of the reasons why I would yell and scream at the game. It's going to crash. It's going to freeze. You're going to lose your cargo. I would buy a bunch of junk. I would fly from point A to point B, and halfway there, my ship would explode. I would respawn somewhere, and I would call my ship up, and it would be the original ship. Okay, now I get the cargo's not going to respawn, but this is the step in the right direction. I would I'd get a Saber, I'd go to Hurston, they've got these really cool Devastator guns, I'd buy a bunch of them, I'd put them on my Saber, I'd go out and I'd fight a guy, and then for some reason my ship would lock up or something, and then a missile would hit me, I would explode, no fault of my own. The game just hated me and it blew me up. I'd respawn, I'd go get my ship, and it would have the original guns on it, and I would be out all those credits. That frustrated me. I'm going to be honest, it frustrated me to the point where I didn't want to play very often, because I knew that every time I went out and bought something, I would go perform some task, and then maybe 2 or 3 missions down, the game would crash, and then when I respawned my ship, it would say it's the original ship. So whenever, this is what I subjected myself to, was I would play, but I would never go buy anything, because I would buy my own personal gear like armor and guns, but I would always play with a stock ship. I wouldn't buy any shield generators. I wouldn't buy any power plants or none of that stuff, because I knew that I would lose it and then all my credits would be gone. So now with the introduction of this feature, I can go buy a power plant, fly around for a while, and if for some reason my game crashes and I respawn and I have to relog my ship in, I'll still have that power plant. So it gives me a little bit more incentive to bother, right? And now what that's telling me is I can experiment with different power plants, different weapon loadouts. I can do that again. I can't do that in the previous versions.
Initial feature, the initial thing was just whatever your configuration is, it will persist that. So when your ship gets destroyed, lost, you go claim another one, you get a carbon copy of it. In the future, it'll look at the base value of your ship is.
Your deductible will be different based on
exactly. You'll pay a differential.
The items.
Yeah, the accounting service part of that is done. We're already calculating the appropriate prices. What we're really missing is all the UI, the player-facing feedback. Once we've got those elements, we'll roll them in, and then players will start to see, oh well, I've got LTI insurance on this ship up to this amount of value, and so if I add additional value beyond that, then I pay some percentage of that on a recurring basis in order to guarantee that all of that extra stuff.
All right, so let's talk about LTI. This is, I don't know why it is. Come on, guys. Are you a bunch of snowflakes out there? But this is what he's saying. And this is kind of not the way I was thinking it was, but I'm kind of glad it is. But I'm also kind of glad I'm hopeful it's not like this, but it doesn't really matter. However the game ships, it's going to ship one way or another, right? And when it comes out, then we'll figure it out. But right now, what he's saying, you get a ship. Let's say it's a Saber, right? Let's say you have, let's just hypothetically say the Saber is 20 million credits. And you have LTI on a Saber. You blow your Saber up. It looks at what Saber you had. Oh, you had the 20 million one. Your LTI covers the 20 million of your Saber. Here, you have a new Saber. But what if you go and get that super jazzy power plant, and now your Saber is 20,100,000 credits worth of ship. When it blows up, your LTI covers the 20 million. But it's not going to cost you another 100,000 for that power plant. It's going to be a percentage of that, maybe 10%. So maybe you got to pay 10,000 credits to get your ship back with that power plant. Or you can opt to take just the stock ship. You can say, I just want the stock ship, or I want everything that I bought and put on it. And they will charge you a percentage to get that. So basically your LTI has a deductible. It has a deductible based on your additional items. There's no deductible on the base, but everything over the base has a deductible, but that deductible is a percentage, which might be small. It might be 1%. It might even be 0.5%. We don't know.
Will be outfitted on my ship when I go.
Yeah, and I think what we'll do is, because we were originally thinking, well, you would buy
outfitted on my ship. And so if I add additional value beyond that, then I pay some percentage of that on a recurring basis in order to guarantee that all of that extra stuff will be outfitted on my ship.
So you got to pay monthly.
Yeah, and I think what we'll do is, because we were originally thinking, well, you would buy additional insurance for the extra weapons, but it's better to do it this way, which is your insurance covers whatever your ship's on, but there'll be some adjustment in the deductible or the expediting fees based on the value of all the equipment. And then on the cargo insurance, what we really should do is you would have the opportunity, just like if I buy something online right now, do I want to have travel insurance? So if I'm at the commodities kiosk or whatever, and I'm going, give me, 100 SCUs of gold or something, it says, do you want to, for an extra, 10% or 20%, do you want to insure your load? It's not 10 or 20%. I'm giving an example. Then you just have this trade-off. You go, I don't think I'm going to get
20% confirmed.
So I don't really want to spend the money, or I'd like to insure myself. It's the same as, do you want to take insurance on your rental
again.
car?
Do you want to basically live on the edge, take the chance, go out there? If you lose your cargo, you literally lost all of that value.
Speaking of rentals, not going to be quite there with 3.6. We'll also have ship rental. Kind of cool because
not with 3.6 you
just
said.
Inherently are expensive. They have to be for the economics to work, but that means it's a fair amount of earning money in the game, which is always problematic when we reset account.
You can only save up for a couple of months, and then we reset things. It's very difficult to save up.
And to be clear, that will be fixed. Server-side OCS, when that is working, then you'll have true persistence.
Server-side OCS.
You have to have true persistence in the game because the server has to know exactly the state when it throws it out of memory, and then it restores.
They're not even
so
close.
once we're assisting the state of the universe to a database when things are going on a server, that means we have true persistence. Probably around about that point of time is where we'll stop resetting everyone's database so people can burn money towards accumulating shit.
I'm sorry, I just put something in my mouth and I have to say something. About that time is when we're going to stop wiping. I'm against that. People want to be able to build up their accounts to be able to buy ships. I get it. They want to test the long-term economy. I get it. They need to do that. But don't stop wiping. Maybe not wipe as often. Maybe not even wipe until you go to 3. Or 4.0. 3.6, 3.7, 3.8. 4.0, 4.1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. When you decide that when you've got all the features in and you're ready to go to beta, wipe. Get everybody to start over at beta. Do the beta testing for whatever years you're going to do the beta testing. It should probably only be 1 year. About a month out from going live, wipe. Tell people that now that you guys are like premium beta or your early access or whatever, and anything in this next month is not going to be wiped, and then go from there. I don't know. There needs to be a wipe close to launch. There needs to be a wipe periodically through alpha. But when you get to beta, do a wipe at the beginning of beta and then not through beta. Or don't have a wipe all the way through alpha, but when you get to that beta launch, make sure you have a wipe. I don't know. Don't say there's no more wipes. That's discouraging to me, because I want everyone, and I'm not speaking for myself, because guess what? I'm playing now. I'm playing in alpha. I'm not going to be the one suffering from no wipes. I'm going to be benefiting from that, but I don't want to benefit from that, because I think of you, my community. I think of you, the Star Citizen potential player, the one that hasn't backed the game yet, the one that's waiting for it to get launched before you jump in and play. You will have 0 credits. The guy next to you is going to have 20 million credits, 50 billion credits, or whatever he's got. He'll have every ship, every weapon. He'll have land claims on every planet, and he will own the galaxy. And then you will log in and have nothing. And I think that is, I'm not going to say not fair, because it's an MMO and there should be disparity between players. Everybody should not be on the same playing field. There should not be parity between players. And now you're starting to get into, I don't think there should be parity between control schemes either. I don't think a joystick should be better than a mouse, or vice versa. But I don't think they should be equal either. I think one should be better than the other, and I honestly believe that a mouse should be better than a joystick. But just because there's so many people playing with mouse, I don't know. Maybe a joystick's better. I don't know. I'm not really concerned about it, and I don't. People that are concerned about it, get a grip. You're a snowflake. I don't think there should be. I think there should continue to be wipes, mainly just to keep everything fresh, clean, and then when they get real close to saying, okay, this is a finished product, we're ready to go, then stop wiping. All right, here we go.
Ships and everything else. But until then, ship rental is pretty cool, because it's a way to get into a expensive ship much sooner. And even in the final game, it will be useful, because if you're playing a game and you want to try something, you could rent it, or you could get into a bigger, a better ship, have a higher earning potential before you have the money to necessarily buy it outright.
Yeah, good.
Quite a few.
Before we wrap this up, maybe some progress reports on any of the, so we're talking long term here. Does anybody have any updates on any of this stuff, that where we're at and how things are going?
They're working on it.
They're working.
It's a lot.
Thanks, everybody.
So, as I said, server-side meshes and persistence go together.
Yeah.
That's a big project. Server-side OCS is fundamental for the meshing, the static meshing and fully dynamic meshing, which is where we want to end up. It's a big development effort, because the core team's implementing it. They do their stuff, but there's a lot of game code that has to adjust to make sure it works with the new paradigm, because the client OCS has the ability to always know the server has a full authoritative state of the entire universe or the entire star system at any one time. But the moment that we move to server OCS, it won't, because that server may only have a portion of the star system, for instance, in its memory. And that means that different variables have to be classified differently to persist, because you can't always count on the server having a definite record of it. So that's some of the game code has to be adjusted to make sure that it's safe for that kind of setup. Once the persistence and the server meshing is in place, that's the last piece of the tech. Yeah. And once the persistence is in there, we're going to stop wiping accounts, and so people can actually be playing, earning towards something, accumulating wealth, accumulating items and ships.
So to wrap this up,
No.
why is this worth the wait? Why do I want to wait?
This will completely change
You
everything,
have to
because all of a
wipe.
sudden you're playing with thousands of people. In other words, you're no longer confined to a little island universe. Like right now, ironically, the more points of interest we add, the more separated the player community becomes. In other words, we double the number of areas, but we didn't change the server cap. And so all of a sudden the players are just spread out more. And so now for the foreseeable future, you may not be able to put gargantuan number in the exact same area, But that doesn't really matter with 3.6. What really matters, I think, is I go to the asteroid field and there's a lot of players over there. And then I go to Port Olisar and there's a lot of guys there.
And
then
he
I go
said
over to Arctic, and
3.6.
There's a lot of guys over there. And so wherever you go, you run into new people.
He's saying
you form
that there's going to be
relationships, or you
a
trade
player
things,
bump
or you go
in
off on adventures
3.6.
together, and all of a sudden you've got people that have a criminal rating. Having a criminal rating when there's a relatively small number of people on your server is not particularly threatening. In the future, having a big price on your head when there's thousands of other people that can basically accept the contract to bring you in and basically get paid for it, now all of a sudden you're really at risk. And this carries through to everything. The entire game becomes infinitely more interesting.
So thank you guys for joining us. Thanks to subscribers and backers, obviously, as always, so let us do this content. Let's get back to work, yeah?
There you go. All right. Ready.
Ready.
I'm not going to do that.
We should all leave.
All right, so Pillar Talk, Star Citizen, search. See, look at this. Around the Verse, Pillar Talk, 7 months ago. Wait, that's other people's Pillar Talks. Yeah, everybody's talking about it, looks like. So what do you guys think? If you're watching this video live, you're more than welcome to chat anytime. If you comment on this video, maybe on YouTube later, I will reply to your comments. If you want to chat with me at any time during any of my streams, you can chat with me on Twitch chat. My handle to Twitch is right there, and you can watch on YouTube now or after, but I just don't see the chat. The chat right above me is only the Twitch chat. All right, now if you want to like and subscribe to my channel, please do. If you want to support the channel, hit the little money icon or whatever. I'm not exactly sure what it looks like because I haven't used it on myself. Okay, so but you could always hit the PayPal me link in the description below if you want to do that. And if you got any suggestions or some topics you'd like for me to discuss, put that in the chat as well, because I read every single chat. Maybe a day or two later, but I do read every single chat. All right, guys, and I'll catch you next time.